All right, here's the situation. It is Black Friday. It's the day after Thanksgiving. On Wednesday, Lucy and I drove down to Klamath Falls to spend Thanksgiving with my family down there. I have a little too much to do this weekend to spend the entire 4 days in Klamath Falls. So Lucy is staying in Klamath Falls with my family. I got a little later start out of Klamath Falls today than I expected. One of my sisters was in town from Southern California who I haven't seen her husband, or her kids for a number of years. And so, you know, we hung out a little bit more today. We actually went ice skating with Lucy and my brother-in-law and my niece and nephew. And ultimately I got out of town a little late, and I remembered that there was this campsite I've been wanting to get back to for like 3.5 years that's more or less on the way home. So I stopped at the grocery store, grabbed just a little bit of food, and decided to see if I could get up here. I first explored this area about 3.5 years ago, right after putting a lift and tires on the Forester. I was new to exploring the National Forest and dispersed camping, and didn't yet know that July, high in the Cascades, was prime mosquito season. I was thrilled to stumble upon this sweet campsite, but only got as far as deploying my awning before realizing the mosquitoes were off the charts. I had to give up and find another spot at higher elevation and well away from any water. So it was summer last time I came up here, and I may not have had quite a very solid grasp on how much elevation I had gained while driving up this road. But I see that we are actually getting into some snow here. Now, this isn't very recent snow. I don't know when it last snowed up here, and it's pretty warm out there right now, so it gets much deeper. I'm a little concerned that it could be sort of sloppy, rotten snow that is much more slippery, much harder to drive in than fresh, crisp snow. Let's see what happens. One thing I do find useful when I'm looking for campsites after dark is to get my flashlight out of the back and keep it up here with me. That way I can easily shine the light up little side roads or little pullouts or whatever, and get a better feel for what it might look like as a campsite. Now, I've got a campsite in mind, but the way the snow is getting deeper, I'm not 100% convinced I'm actually going to get there. So I'm trying to keep other possibilities in mind as I go. Looks like some people walked up here today, possibly hunting for Christmas trees, but I'm glad to see no one has driven up the trail to my campsite. Alright, the site is mine. I just need to reposition and level the truck for the night. I've been working on a few things back here on and off for the past few weeks, and I have taken a bunch of stuff out of the back of the truck that normally rides back here. I actually don't have my stove, I don't have my propane bottle. I'm going to have to rely on cooking on a fire tonight and tomorrow morning, and so we'll see how that goes. I don't have a lot of experience with campfire cooking. Fortunately, I do have some firewood from a previous trip floating around back here. It's a good thing because I'm sort of on the wet side of the mountains, and everything is very, very wet. Even if I find some dead wood, I think it's going to be very difficult to burn. So fortunately, I've got at least a little bit of wood, and hopefully enough to get me through tonight and tomorrow morning. Right about now, I am kind of wishing I had a folding metal fire pit that I could just set up. There's a lot of moisture here. I always carry a tarp up in one of my rooftop boxes, so I'm going to grab that to help keep my firewood dry through the night. I really don't have a lot of wood. I'm gonna have to be very, very efficient. The small fire tonight, so I can still make a fire tomorrow to make some coffee. I'm using fire starters. It's damp out here. I'm not gonna take any chances. I don't think there's any shame in using available technology to start a fire. I guarantee you, 100 years ago, if mountain men could have been able to go to the store and buy little things that would start fires like that, they absolutely would have. To start with, I'm sauteing some zucchini with some salt and some garlic. I've set aside the zucchini and reheated the pan so I can sear my steak. Now that the steak is close to done, I'm just going to toss the zucchini back in there to make sure it's nice and hot. Well, I realize I don't even have a plate with me, so I'm just going to have to eat out of the pan. It's really hot, so I've just set it up on a piece of wood I found here. These are my version 2 curtains.
I hired my friend Drea here in Eugene to sew these up for me. I'm using magnets to hold them, but since magnets won't stick to aluminum, I've affixed small self-adhesive metal plates to the canopy. I like this better than the previous curtains I had hanging on hooks, but it's not perfect either. The curtain panels themselves are good, but I may end up using a different system to put them up. I'll update you if I do.
So you may have seen in one of my earlier videos that my Mr. Heater Buddy stopped working on a recent trip. And I think it's repairable. A lot of people had some suggestions for what I could do to repair it. But in the meantime, I needed to come up with something that I could quickly do to get some heat into the canopy. At least a brief blast of heat at bedtime so I can change for bed. Same thing in the morning, get up, get dressed. So I'm actually trying an electric heater, and I'm running it off the Jackery 1500, and it definitely draws a lot of power. On its lower setting, it draws about 1,000 watts, so I can't run it for a long time, but it's similar to how I ran the Mr. Heater Buddy. I would just blast it for a couple of minutes, get some heat in here, change, and get into bed, where my 12-volt electric blanket will keep me warm through the night, also running off the Jackery 1500. The nice thing about the electric heat is that it's not creating additional moisture in here like the Mr. Heater Buddy burning propane would do. I've already got a little bit of condensation in here without even having been in here this evening. It's damp outside, it's cold, and everything in and out got just a little bit damp. The electric heat at least should mitigate some of that. Oh, that feels good. It's got a fan, so it actually circulates the heat, the air, I feel maybe better than the Mr. Heater Buddy. The heat is not as intense for sure, but it's moving around and filling the space really quickly. As you can see, that heater is pulling 1,076 watts, and that's on its lowest heat setting. You can certainly find heaters that pull fewer watts, but then they're probably also generating less heat, so I feel like it more or less probably comes out the same. Run it for less time, get more heat. The Jackery 1500 was at 96% when I turned on the heater. Now we're down to 92%. It's definitely already warmed up significantly in here. It's been running for maybe 3-4 minutes, 5 minutes. Definitely to the point where I'm comfortable to change and get into my preheated bed. Now this is definitely not something that you could do for sustained heat through the night. It's just going to draw too much power. But I really feel that it makes much more sense not to heat your space while you're sleeping. Heat your bed while you're sleeping. Keep yourself warm in your bed. You can stay plenty warm with a good sleeping bag or with something like an electric blanket to keep you warm through the night, with using far less energy than heating all of this space with that heat just getting shed all through the night. It's not efficient. It doesn't make sense. All right, I didn't think to time how long that heater's been running. It's probably been 6-7 minutes now. I'm ready to take off my coat, and I'm ready to shut the heater off. It's plenty warm in here now. It's not hot by any means, but it is entirely comfortable for getting ready for bed. And we have consumed 89. So we've taken about it was at 96, so about 7% off of the Jackery 1500's capacity. That's an amount that I feel is easily recoverable when I'm driving. Obviously, I'll also be using the electric blanket for a little bit longer tonight. Maybe at some point in the middle of the night, I'll wake up and turn it back on. I don't know. So that'll consume a little more power off of the Jackery. But I think if you're driving every single day, it's probably an amount of power that's recoverable.
After running the heater last night and this morning, as well as using the 12-volt electric blanket intermittently through the night, the Jackery 1500 has dropped from 96% to 78%. That's not too bad, though admittedly it wasn't excessively cold last night. I've still got enough fire to cook breakfast. I'm just heating up some leftover Thanksgiving turkey, along with some chunks of cheese, which I'm just scrambling into some eggs.
Well, that was super nice, really pleasant little quick impromptu overnighter. I'm really glad I finally got to get up and camp alongside this little lake that I've been thinking about for literally years. Kind of fun to rely on the campfire for cooking. But now it is time to air up and head home. I can get out of the campsite anyway. Let's try this again.
The traction control was on automatically when I started the truck, and I could feel it applying brakes to the spinning wheels as I tried to climb up out of the campsite. I'm sure that with that switched off, I can power up the hill.
Well, maybe I'll stay here another night. The snow is pretty warm and slushy, and it is much slipperier than cold, crisp snow. It just doesn't have that sticky consistency that fresh snow has, and it makes all the difference when you're driving in it.